Wonderful news for a Talking Tuesday. There is actually a press conference this week, so we can actually do real questions with Adam King on the beat. Welcome in. I am just Austin Ward. He is the king. We have an audience with him, and things are changing.
Yeah, I was going to say, and we have something to talk about on this Talking Tuesday in June.
We do. And we're going to talk to Ross Bjork about that later this week. And I have, Adam, so many questions. Like, how is any of this going to work? That's the first question.
I think my first question, and I think if you are out there should be a bet when the first lawsuit comes in. When is the first? I mean, every NIL deal starting now has to go through the clearinghouse, NIL Go, which what a great name. They said Pokemon Go made everybody happy. Let's try NIL Go.
Whoever gave HBO the idea, is like, you know what, it's going to be Max.
Yes.
Like, here we go, NIL Go, we got it for you.
Nailed it.
It's genius.
But now it's HBO Max again, isn't it? Yeah. And then back to Max and HBO Max.
I don't know, whatever.
You win some, you lose most. I love it. I'm just glad it's here. Like, I feel like we've spent the last 2 years talking about what happened Friday, and finally it's like, all right, starting July 1st, that's happening. But then the first question became, how do we get more money? Where's the rest of this come from?
Yeah.
And we saw today the Buckeyes Sports Group, which is now a new NIL collective. You know, it's not a collective, it's an initiative that kind of combines everything.
Fundraising arm.
Well, there you go. I like that. Is that what they're going to put in the fine print?
I don't know. That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, everything needed to come in-house. Everything needed to come together here. One way in, one way out. It's also a really good way to make sure that you're not breaking any rules, because I think sometimes you get at least you've got compliance involved now at every step. You've got everything you need, as opposed to like you got guys going out trying to get their own deals and then turn those into compliance and hope that they're okay. Now, one way in, one way out. Do you like it?
I consider myself skeptical. Now, here's where I am in the first and foremost, Adam, which is on Friday night at 9:30, the House settlement comes through. Yay!
What were you doing?
I wasn't waiting for emails.
You were refreshing.
I can promise you that wasn't what I was doing on Friday night. But they want to pat themselves on the back. Hey, we're going to pay players. We did it. We did something historic. And I would say, yeah, for the most part, you absolutely did do that. Congratulations. You did the thing we've been saying you had to do for the last 75 years.
Yeah.
Now, that's significant in and of itself. But the implementation, because you said it, and that bet, like, I would have had the over-under on Friday at 9:31 for the next lawsuit. So we're past that.
Yeah.
But the first time that any NIL deal is not deemed to be of fair market value, we're going right back through this process all over again. So that school, that student, that football player, that volleyball player, that golfer, it can be anybody. They can institute this next wave of lawsuits, which challenges it all. So I feel like we're at step one, which is them saying, yes, we're going to do it. Great. I'm happy for that. When we talked to Ross Bjork, how did you get to this point? What is Ohio State's role in it? Because it does feel very much to me like Ohio State sort of got its way for the way that this was going to be designed. For the last 5 years, when we've looked at it since the start of this Wild West, when people say, well, Ohio State's not aggressive enough. They're not active in, they're not doing this and that. They're not spending for high school seniors and incoming freshmen. Well, because they don't think that you should.
Yeah.
And they were proven correct in that.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't going to prevent that, because teams are going to designate their salary cap however they see fit. But at least you have a roadmap to getting to the future. Now, is it going to help them avoid every lawsuit? No. Is it going to be perfect for every rule? I would say no as well.
I would argue that we, and this is a crazy thing to say, but
okay.
I think we are one step away from having this figured out. And boy, that seems insane. Because it feels like we're a mile away. But I think at some point you're simply put going to have to say, I still think you can have the clearinghouse vet things. But the clearinghouse needs to vet things, simply put, to make sure that we're not just giving cash on the side. Like, these are real NIL deals. You can't have somebody approving or denying the deal. But at least somebody looking at it that's a third party that says, like, I don't care if it's an appearance. Are you showing up at this appearance and is this guy giving you money?
Right.
Okay, then I can't tell you how much you're worth at an appearance. Because I'll tell you right now, Taylor Swift If somebody, there are people that would give Taylor Swift $5 million to come shake their hand.
100%.
There are obsessed Swifties. That is a real fair market value. And so you can't tell
that to the Live Golf Tour. Like the whole $250 million for Jon Rahm. Well, that's now the market because somebody paid it. Anyway.
No, you're exactly right. Although, did you see Phil Mickelson shot with the chip? That's the first highlight I've ever seen from Live. They got to advertise a little better.
Sorry.
I never know when they're playing.
I really derailed you.
You derailed us because now I'm thinking about Live Golf. Nobody likes Live Golf.
No.
Does that mean nobody likes NIL Go? Are you putting those in the same category?
Yeah, nobody likes NIL Go.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to tell you.
Okay.
NIL Go is the Live Golf of college football.
Amazing.
But
I think at the end of the day...
Don't ask how.
Don't ask how. I think at the end of the day, it's very clear that we say no isn't going to work. But I do think there is a world where you monitor to make sure that there's not actual shadiness going down. Just straight cash in your pocket. Everything, and just to be clear, everything before was run through compliance. Every NIL deal had to be documented. You just have to stay in that world. Otherwise, I think we did it. Like you pay the players, that's great. Is that going to be enough? No. They're going to raise side money. That's why they have the Buckeyes Sports Group, understandably. But at the end of the day, it's going to take one guy saying, what do you mean I can't pay Caleb Downs $20,000 to come sign cards at my store for an hour? Yeah. Like that's a fair market. Like that, I think the number was 70% of collectives deals would have been rejected by the clearinghouse.
And that's the problem. Because I think that there are a lot of them.
There's just one. I said we're one step away, Austin. There's just one.
I think you may be slightly off base on that. And I wish that was true.
Are you saying I'm wrong?
No, what I thought...
This will be our last talking.
Good. We haven't even got to the season yet. What I thought you might be saying is like, we're one step away, which is collective bargaining. Because they still are not saying, nowhere in any of these press releases on Friday night in the House settlement from the judge, nowhere on Monday when Ross Bjork and Ohio State put out their information about the Buckeye Sports Group, nowhere did it say employment status, employees. It's still about the student-athlete experience. It is still about, scholarships and roster size and academic propriety and integrity and all the things. So they've walked up to this edge. They are paying players.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what's next? When you pay somebody, guess what they are?
An employee.
They're an employee. So I also recognize that if you say that there's a mile to go, maybe 100 miles to go, maybe 1,000 miles to go, because 49 states, Alaska, sorry, you don't have major college football. They're all going to have different labor laws and all these things that people are sick and tired of hearing about. And I'm sick and tired of talking about it or having to learn about it or why it's different for Tennessee than it is for Georgia, than it is for Texas, than it is for the state of Ohio. Like, I know that part all sucks and we all just want them to play the game. But it is why I do think Friday and Monday for Ohio State with what Ross Bjork and Ohio State are putting together, it is moving the ball forward. But we're not on the goal line here.
No. I will say shout out to Ohio State because it's got to be exhausting, but at every step through everything in these changes, they've been first in line.
Yeah.
They have found a way to make sure that nothing is changing in the world of college football where they are surprised, where they are left behind. And shout out to them. I mean, Monday, right after the news announced, and they've been working on this to get the Buckeye Sports Group. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, the idea of bringing NIL inside the athletic department. I guess you talk about collective bar, and if I can get on my high horse here, it's simply put with 3 words.
Giddy up.
I don't care.
Oh, okay.
I do not care. That's 4 words because I didn't hyphen or whatever that word is.
He does not care.
There you go. That's 5 now. He does not care. That's 4. Okay.
This is not a math show.
Yeah, that's correct. I don't care how, why, what, who gets what, who's getting paid what. I am so tired of reading online or reading headlines that say, the end of college athletics forever. They probably said that.
Is that your reading voice?
That is my read. The end of college sports. It is. They've been saying this for years. They've been saying it since they went from leather helmets to protective helmets. They've been saying it when they went from pads to, listen, Penn used to be a great college football team. Rutgers dominated.
Birthplace of college football.
Birthplace. But guess what? We have still had college football at every step. I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
Okay? Who cares if they're getting paid? Guess what? They were already getting paid. On Thursday, before the House settlement went through, everybody was still making money. And it didn't affect college football because on Saturday, you still sat down in your seat. You still turned on the TV. You still rooted for your team. You still wanted to throw up when your team was down 14 points in the fourth quarter and you didn't know what to do. That's life. That's what makes football great. You can't take that away with a monetary value.
Yeah.
So you're right. There are a lot of challenges and roadblocks. I am, for one, I think we had the Wild Wild West. We have kind of started to put it into a jar. I don't care how we get it in the jar. I don't care if it takes another 10 years.
Yeah.
If it's a thing we can talk about in June, great. But people who are fired up and think that the world has lost its mind, this is the NFL players make it. Guess what? It's a great product. It's a great product. I'm frustrated. It is still going to be amateur sports because these kids still want to be developed. They still want to go to schools. I made this argument earlier, and then I'll throw it back to you.
No, take your time.
I still think at the end of the day, there are people out there. There are quite a few players out there that understand the idea that if Miami offers me $400 million to go to their school,
that'd be a pretty good deal.
I would take it, for sure. If Miami offers me $5 million to go to their school, and Ohio State offers me $3 million to go to their school, and Texas A&M offers me $7 million, I still think the majority of people and good players and five-star players are going to pick the school that they want to develop at, because you're talking about 3 years for the rest of your career. Mm-hmm. I don't think you're going to see as many people say, well, I'm going to go to Nebraska because they offer me the most money, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
I think people are still going to choose development over money at the end of the day. And maybe that's naive, but I think the majority, because everybody's throwing out somewhat similar numbers at the end of the day.
Well, I think that's largely how Ohio State has been building its roster anyway. The example you're using, Jeremiah Smith, without question, absolutely unequivocally was offered more money to play elsewhere, both coming out of high school and potentially through back channels after his freshman year. His decision was, Ohio State said, this is what we would like to pay here. You're getting all these other things outside, Nike, Red Bull, etc. And you're going to continue to get to work with Brian Hartline and play at Ohio State, compete for championships, get developed, all those other things. And he said, yep, that's good. That's what I want. And you look across the board, whether that's Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs, or you look back at a year ago when the choice was not even about transfer portal for Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau. That was an NFL conversation. Ohio State is, and we've made this point a lot on Talking Tuesdays already, it is a unique program. And it is more powerful than it has ever been. And I think that there are a lot of people, and you can't say it's not a 100% situation, and I'm generalizing, but I think as they sat down through this process, a lot of other programs are trying to emulate the way Ohio State has handled this. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're not going to be perfect, but if they're operating from, well, look at how they're running these 36 sports. Look at how they're managing their revenue. Look how what they've done with NIL. Look how they manage their college football roster. All those things, I think, have served as a little bit of a blueprint. And you've seen Ross Bjork take a more active role, not just with trying to change kickoff times, but also, on these boards and meeting with the groups that are trying to form all of these things. Because I truly believe that, based on what I've seen and what I've lived and experienced, that there isn't a program that has a better feel for all of the pros and cons of dealing with this situation. And, maybe that's naive, maybe that's hyperbolic, I don't know. But this is certainly a model that I don't think Ohio State would find anything that it takes a true exception with. And I think it is, as you mentioned, something they were already prepared to implement because it is in alignment with the things that they already do. So the question for Ross Bjork then is not like, what do you not like about this? But it's how did you arrive at this point that this is what you want and this is what is best for Ohio State moving forward? And maybe there is something that he's not happy about. I mean, we can ask that too, because I truly don't know the answer to that part.
I would ask Ross Bjork, what do you think is the next biggest hurdle? Because this feels like the biggest hurdle in the history of college sports. I mean, it's been a hurdle we've had forever. We're finally over it.
Yeah.
For him, in his office, at the end of the day, he now has to, and I don't know how this works, and I guarantee you he'll be asked this. Who's deciding the allocation of money? Is this Ross Bjork? Is he sitting down with a $20.5 million and saying, basketball, you get this? I mean, I'm sure it's a group of people, but there's no committee out there but this Buckeye Sports Group is more of a separate thing than that.
Right.
It's not involved in that. So,
he also can't. That's not his job. I guess it may well be.
Well, so that's my question. It's like, and I wonder this, like on July 1st, it's like Caleb Downs going to walk into like Ross Bjork's office and then like grab his check, hit his punch card and walk out. Like he's not an employee, but that's where we've gotten to. I need everybody's direct deposit number and you'll get it bi-weekly. It's wild to say.
File your invoice. I played Texas on August 30th.
Yeah, exactly. I played 1,800 snaps this year. I would like, there's a lot of intricacies to it. But at the end of the day, in the big picture, I go back to the idea, and you just said it with Jeremiah Smith and him choosing to come to Brian Hartline. With all of this, at the end of the day, colleges still matter where you're going. It's not, everybody acts like this is just going to be a bidding war for the rest of time. That's not how it works. And there was some concern initially, and I thought it was a good conversation with Birm and Tyvis Powell. Birm made a good point that there's a problem of now you can't pay all the 5 stars. You can't get 15 5-stars because you've only got $20.5 million.
Yeah. I
almost disagree with that. I understand the concept of it. Mm-hmm. I understand the idea that your balance is now $20.5 million, and that's for the whole athletic department. So let's say $17 million. You have to divvy up $17 million over, all these guys. At the end of the day, you're going back to the Buckeye Sports Group. You're going back to what we already had and saying, okay, well, actually, we have $40 million to play from. So I understand it's crazy that we're paying players directly. But this is what we've been doing for 3 years now. It's nothing new in my eyes.
Yeah, I think, and you bring up a good point. And when you're talking about this overall salary cap conversation for an athletic department, I quite simply don't believe that it's real. And I've talked to people in compliance. I've tried to get as much a feel for this as possible, where they're saying, well, this is what it's going to be. This is the amount, and everybody's got to decide how they want to spend it. That's not how college football has ever worked. There has always been a way around it. And the second that they try to institute a hard cap, that's where the rest of these lawsuits come. So they may be saying, well, this is it, and now this is how revenue distribution is going to work. And if you violate that, then you're not going to be part of the College Sports Commission, and the czar is going to come in and slap you down and shut you down and keep you from playing. I don't believe that, period. So then the question becomes, if you believe that to Ross Bjork or to Ohio State or to anybody, what are the penalties? What are the repercussions? How is this part going to be managed? How is it going to be implemented? Who's going to determine those rules? Because I guarantee you that there are going to be disagreements about that. Tennessee was already saying, a month ago, that they were having their state legislature put forth laws that no group could punish them if they broke a rule from the House settlement. That was already happening. So that's why I say, Friday night at 9:30, all this patting each other on the back, you're not even close to done.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The one-step thing,
you're so optimistic.
Well, we're one step, and my one step is just get rid of the rules. And that's my step.
Great.
And just let everybody raise as much as they want. But okay, so here's my counterpoint to that. Okay. And here's my counterpoint to the person that says it's not fair that Ohio State has more money than this person or that team. Look at Major League Baseball.
Okay, I will.
Everybody can spend as much as they want.
Yeah.
If you want to root for a franchise that doesn't want to spend money, that's your prerogative. Have fun with that. Be frustrated with your owner that he doesn't want to go out and get Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
I think let the programs do what they want. I like having a little, NIL go to make sure it's all above board.
Yeah.
How you getting that money? John wants to give you $1 million so that you come to his house and have dinner with him. Sure. But at the end of the day, it's just the world. It's the way the world works.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, though, my biggest worry in all of this, and this goes back on where I'm worried college football could most change. is schools like Rutgers, Northwestern, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Ross Bjork and you're sitting at the table right now, and now you've got to find $20.5 million that has to go somewhere that you didn't allocate before.
I bet it won't be that hard.
But do you know how frustrating it'll be when he looks at how much Northwestern and Nebraska and Rutgers and Maryland are taking from the football revenue that he's generating for the rest of the conference?
No.
And then you run into the problem of, okay, well, we don't want to pay for the other, bottom tier players in this conference because we've got to find the money for ourselves because we got to spend the money to be better.
Yeah.
So right now, my biggest question mark is, how does this work without somebody saying, we're going to go on our own because it's cheaper for us to go to Fox and say, we're Ohio State, look at these numbers, pay us, or Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, to say we're going elsewhere, we're going to create a super conference. When that happens, then I will get on here and I will cry.
Well, see, but that's exactly the point of why, unless we are taking your plan, which is a great one, to just eliminate all rules, I don't think that Ryan Day would agree with you. Thank you.
Oh, no. And again, I don't have Ryan Day's job. That would give me a headache of all headaches. But, I'm just saying, if there are no rules, you can't break a rule.
But again, that's my question of many questions, because I feel like, and I've tried to seek out as much information and answers and clarity about what all of this means for Ohio State and college football and college athletics as a whole. But primarily my concern is covering Ohio State football. What does this mean? How does it mean? How does it apply? How are you going to implement these rules? And I would think that compared to the general population and my ability to talk to some of these people who are actively involved, I've got a better handle on it than a casual observer.
Yeah.
But I have no freaking clue how any of this is actually going to work or why they think that it will. You brought up a point with the rules there, and that's like the actual competitive side. Financially, right off the bat, we said, well, if NIL go strike something down, well, that's a lawsuit. That's an unlimited amount of lawsuits that could potentially be coming.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
I genuinely don't believe that a year from now, NIL go in their rejection.
NIL max.
NIL, exactly. NIL max. But that's what it's going to be, because they're not going to be able to reject anybody. There's going to be so many lawsuits, and that is just the world we live in. Like, that's just capitalism, is you can't tell someone what they're worth.
Sure.
Or what something. If somebody is willing to pay, then they are allowed to pay. And so that, I think, will be something we see gone away. So I guess when I say we're one step away, I've already eliminated that. Yeah, that's gone.
Good.
In my head, that doesn't exist because it's not going to work.
Good. Yeah, but I think it's one factor out of many factors that you put on the table and say, well, how are you going to stop somebody from doing that? Just because, like they said, they floated that document. You have to sign this to be part of the CSC and play these other schools. And then everyone's immediately like, well, that's against the law. You can't do that. I'm sorry. Okay, well, cool. We tried.
We did our best.
We thought that was going to work, but it didn't. And then, because you can go further. They have now decided that this goes back to 2015. Tyvis Powell is showing up for work on Monday morning. It's like,
did you hear what he said?
Missed it by a year? No, I think I'll file a lawsuit.
Next lawsuit.
How did you determine that was the cutoff? Every time we look at something, it's like, yes, that is a solution for this. But they're putting one finger in the dam, and then 5 more leaks are popping out. And I'm sounding like really pessimistic about it. I realize that, and I'm complaining. I think that I'm trying to view this through the lens of progress. And I think there's this other notion coming from colleges and athletic directors and administrators that, like, no, we've done it now. We've solved it. And that's not reality.
It's not reality. And at the end of the day, you're never going to be able to solve it. And I know, and I do, you talk about Ryan Day would not be happy with no rules. Ryan Day has been calling for some structure. We have a structure now. I think you might be on it with the dam analogy. And I think for the next 5 years, it might just be putting fingers in holes until we figure out and stop the flood. Mm-hmm. Until we can, I mean, it's going to be, what's that? Flex Seal? Flex Seal everywhere you look.
It's dynamic tape.
Dynamic tape. But at the end of the day, that's all it is in college sports.
Yeah.
I think this
always has been.
It always has been. And everything. And you can go down to the most mundane rules of In college basketball, under 2 minutes now, you can review. Like, everything is about looking at the problems and trying to fix them and mold them every year. It's the same reason the NFL gets together every year and changes and votes on rules. This all goes back to the idea if you had some governing body that actually did something other than the NCAA, you could then you could sign a paper. If you want to be a part of us, and then you get to collective bargaining, and then long story short. So what we've decided is there will be no rules, okay?
It was suggested to me that because the College Sports Commission is coming out of the wake of this lawsuit, that it may have more substance and staying power and, I don't know, ability to govern than the NCAA model did before. I don't know if that's true. I'm not an expert in that field.
Can I ask you one final question?
Absolutely.
At some point, don't we have to look in the mirror and say, if you want to preserve, and right now, even with this new world, I think they have preserved college football. As I said, people who are ringing the doomsday bell, I don't think we're near that. But at some point, you have to sit down and present a contract to Ohio State and say, if you want to be a part of what is college football that we love, that makes so much money, then you've got to just abide by these rules.
Right.
And you know, then some college comes along and says, we don't want to do that. Then you can't be a part of it. Because at the end of the day,
that means you, Tennessee.
That's what the last 100 years were, though. The last 100 years were you can't play your players. Were people frustrated? Did people want to? Yeah, but at the end of the day, the NCAA said, well, if you do, you're not going to be able to play in the Sugar Bowl against Arkansas, even though we all saw it happen. Where's the trophy? We'll never know. At the end of the day, rules are rules. And we're going to get to a point where we find a set of rules and everybody's just going to have to sign the paper and say, okay, let's stop complaining. Let's play football.
The sooner the better. Because it would also be great for you and I to spend some Talking Tuesdays talking about football.
Hey, I think I saw, 88 days away from Texas? 11 more Saturdays.
That's it?
11 more Talking Tuesdays until kickoff.
What do we got? 6 until Big Ten Media Days?
Yeah. And July 31st is the first day of camp. We're getting close.
We are so close.
We're so close.
We are back. One Tuesday closer. Thanks to Adam King, as always, for joining me.
Yeah, I wore a tie this time.
I didn't want to point it out.
Yeah, I thought I underdressed so much last time. I wore a tie this time.
I think the people liked it.
I think they did too.
But you keep them on their toes. This is a beautiful suit. Who made this?
This is English Laundry.
Yeah, it's the only brand you wear.
It's the only brand
I already knew the answer to
Big
that.
fan.
I just wanted you to put it on the record. Thanks to everybody who joined us. As you can see, 10TV, 10TV Plus, 97.1 The Fan, YouTube, and all audio platforms. You already know that whatever you use to find it, it works there. But there's other options for you too. Thanks to Adam. I'm Austin. We'll talk to you later.